Hey, it's Walter. I haven't been on since probably yesterday, I guess. I can't remember. No, actually, it was Sunday. Welcome back to my show if you actually listen. I needed to explain what I was trying to mention the other day, by the way. I'm going to try to videotape this as well. I got what is it called? The Pro. Just let me check over a minute. I got the camera on the side here. It's going to be kind of ridiculous, but I'm going to look at it. Sorry, folks. Not good to have dead space. Okay, here I go. I'm back again. So, it's kind of ridiculous. You're going to have me looking at my own camera. It was called the GoPro. They put a new one out. It's like an intro level one for $130. I got a Target. Now, if you get a Target card, let me blow this up so people can see it on the show, on the set. View. I'm using Audacity, so let me see if I can get this adjusted. I apologize for all this crazy space I'm making today. I wanted to kind of just go into a discussion about what I was talking about last time. I was in a fit of anger, obviously, and didn't mean to offend anybody. But I gotta explain myself, or at least try to. What I was trying to get at, I guess, as far as a point, I had this discussion with my one friend, Matt, and we were talking about this, and it's not that I am. Please don't get me wrong. Please don't think I'm a racist or a bigot or anything like that, because I'm actually not. If you know me, you would know I'm not. My whole thing is, my whole spiel, my one friend Matt, though, he's into music, and I try to explain to him that, when I went to college and stuff, you learn about history of music, and, in America, to me, one of the biggest influences was like blues and jazz, and who's the one who originated that? Well, African Americans, Black Americans, they are the ones who invented, to me, like modern music. I'm not talking the crap that's on the radio nowadays, but I'm taking it from that perspective of the music, because this is an audio show. But my point is that if it wasn't for, Black Americans, African Americans, whatever you want to call them, we wouldn't have the music we have nowadays. I mean, it influenced people like Elvis. I think it's basically what, rock and roll came from, was from Black Americans. So, but these people worked really hard. You had other parts of history too, more benign nose. And, they were a big influence. And to me, the way people are nowadays, Black Americans, whatever, it just is an insult to what they had put in to, make our country the way it is. They put a lot into our country. And you look at it nowadays, you got, the stereotypes that are made are probably for a reason. I'm not going to go into a big discussion about that, but there's no ambition anymore. The ambition is to feel like you're being mistreated or something, or that you're being humiliated, or what do you call that? I'm trying to think of the right word, folks. I can't think of it right now. That you're being victimized. And I think years ago, people rose above that. They rose, they were the phoenix out of the fire kind of thing. And nowadays, people just rather take the easy way out and say, "Oh, I'm being victimized. I'm a minority." It's like, well, years ago, people didn't care if they were a minority. It didn't stop them from making big changes in our country. And I don't understand. Please, if you can comment back or say something, explain it to me, not only about that perspective, but, you look at it like a lot of the people trying to get in this country illegally are, generally Spanish-speaking people or people from South America. Well, let's look at that for a second. I mean, take it, and when you see the knowledge I have, and I see that these people are, how they're not being respectful to people who live in this country by trying to get in here illegally or get things for free, and you look at their culture or where they came from. I mean, if you go from South America, you have, I was thinking about this. You have the Aztecs. That was a whole history. And if you look into the history of South America with the Aztecs, well, they were more advanced than any other civilization. They had running water. Their civilization was probably more advanced than anybody else's that I know. But what happened over the centuries? Well, they seem to regress, and now they destroyed their countries. And I don't know what happened to what made them famous big years ago, centuries ago, because now it just seems like I hate to say it, but almost like a joke. I'm not saying everybody's like that. I don't mean to conglomerate, but it's just, to me, it's just pathetic. And then you got hey, you think about Spaniards. Well, there's that old joke, but it was for a reason. The Spanish Inquisition. You probably learned about that in high school, maybe college, but that was because they were very powerful people. And, if you want to get technical, technically the Spaniards are the ones who found South America to begin with. It's probably why a lot of these people are Spanish speaking, I would assume. But yeah, and even, who was it? Columbus, basically to get funded to come to this country, he had to go to Spain, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, just tell me, I don't care. But yeah, and I look at this, and it's just you got these civilizations of people that have degraded themselves down to beggars and being victimized. So to me, I have no respect for the people of today for that reason, because they really did a lot to change the face of the globe and even our country, and now they're just beggars, and just they degraded themselves down to really not desirable people. That's where I was trying to get at. I don't know if that makes any sense. So if it doesn't, I don't mind if somebody would comment and say, hey, well, you're misunderstanding. Well, no, I don't think I am, but if I am, please, I will not complain about being corrected. So there's that, and it drives me crazy, because I went to a school. The school that I went to was originally an all-girls school, and then it turned into a co-ed school. And the thing about that was the girls that were, it was majority of girls still, and they were pretty disrespectful when they went. A lot of them were. Some weren't, but a lot of them were. They disrespected me. And that's where I get my little bit of I'm very defensive with people, and especially because I went to a school that was majority of all girls. They were literally, if they didn't like the way you looked, they don't even have to know who you were. They would basically just slam the door right in your face. And that happened to me numerous times. I had some smart-ass girl actually say, oh, this college has really depreciated on who they allow in this school. It was something like that. And it was I'm here to get an education, not to be judged by somebody who I don't even know and who does not know me. So, I get very defensive about certain things. I also I lost respect for a lot of people in this country. And I'm not talking, government, yeah. I wouldn't say that years ago, because I would say we had a stronger government than we do now. But that's kind of gone by the wayside. And people it's really got me angry. They made their decision on who they were going to vote for because of the man's skin color. I mean, it's a little obvious. And if you were going to go that direction, why didn't you pick somebody else like Alan West, which he wasn't running? But I'm just saying, that man's incredible. He's an intelligent man. He's very smart, very articulate. but you pick somebody who just is a good talker and who can dress well and, who has a crease in his pants. I mean, they were ridiculous reasons. And I don't judge a person, if I'm going to go that direction, that I'm going to vote for because of their skin color or their nationality, because technically I'm Sicilian. So, if I went that direction, why don't I just pick a Sicilian? And it was like, no, I don't care. And I don't judge people from their skin color, their nationality. I mean, it sounds like that from the last show I did, but honestly, I don't. It's just, that's the way people behave nowadays. They have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, act real tough, and you got all this gang war violence, and it's also with the women and the young girls nowadays. There's been breakouts in New York with females. So, I just don't understand that. That's where my discussion was trying to head towards. Because, I know people from the past. I don't care what color they were, females that I actually were interested in. I didn't care if they were black. I didn't care if they were Asian. I didn't care if they were Jewish. But nowadays, it seems like everything is based upon your ethnicity, the way you look, what age you are, which age bracket you're in, and some like really superficial stuff. So to me, that doesn't make any sense, and that's what gets me really angry. That's what I was trying to say. And my whole discussion from the last show was, I was saying about Jewish people. Well, look where they came from. They've been repressed since day one of history. And you're not even talking actually probably AD. You're probably talking BC too, because the way I understand, BC stands for before Christ, and AD stands for Anno. I can't say it, so I'm not going to even bother. But the point is, since before the birth of Christ, if you believe in Christianity, the Jews were always ridiculed and hated. And part of the reason was because they kept their trade within their own, religious. Because I think Jewish people, it's a religion more or less than a ethnicity. Maybe it's a little bit of both. If you can fill me in, that's great. But the thing was, I have more respect for people like Jewish people, because for over the centuries, they've been people try to genocide their race, and yet they're still here, and they're still going strong. And I have respect for people who have been tortured over centuries and still are, and still can hold themselves above the water. They are the phoenix that rises out of the flames and became, a better race of people, in my opinion. Because for all the hell they went through, and I'm talking, when I was mentioned the last time, I'm talking about World War II, where, they didn't have much luck with, what do you call it? The Germans. I don't want to say Germans, but, the Third Reich. And they didn't have much luck with Stalin, who also, used them as slaves. So, they were slaves. They were tortured. They were hated by, Stalin's side and the Russian side. A movie I'd actually recommended kind of goes into that. Was a movie called Europa, which I watched when I was in college. I didn't have to watch it. I just felt like I wanted to watch it. And that explained a lot, So, it basically travels with one young boy who was actually came of age. It was his bar mitzvah, and, his family got killed by the Germans, and he didn't know where to go, and he thought, oh, I'll go on the Russian side because the Russians treat the Jews better than the Third Reich did. Well, guess what? They hated the Jews just as much. So, but, you have the whole world against you, and yet you can still surpass that. There's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be learned. So that's why I mentioned about the Jewish people. It was not trying to put them down. And yes, I mean, most people in Hollywood are Jewish, or at least they used to be. But it goes beyond that. And I respect people. That's my point. I respect people who can, no matter how bad or gloomy things look for them, and no matter how much, most countries hate these people, for what reason, I have no clue, they still seem to surpass their, people trying to repress them. So, you know what? Maybe that is God's chosen people. I don't know. I'm not going to say it is or isn't, because I'm kind of agnostic. But somebody who can actually rise above, somebody who has treated those people so cruelly, and don't say, well, you owe me something, or, I hate white people. I have a lot of respect for that. And that's what I was trying to point out. And I have a lot of disrespect for people who are very judgmental. In our society nowadays, we live in a society that the people who act like they're being discriminated upon, or act like I'm the racist, it's like, actually, I hate to tell you, I'm not the racist. You are, from trying to say you're not. So, if I want to, I'm going to just end it with this, because I'm actually going a little too long now. But if I was going to ask out a girl, the last thing I'm going to think about, is she black? Is she Puerto Rican? Or is she Italian? Or is she Jewish? I really don't care. If I have something that I am sexually attracted to that woman, or I have something in common with her, which is going to definitely want me, want to have me talk to her, the last thing on my mind is going to be, that is going to be the last thing on my mind. Well, I got to date specifically just a black guy, or a woman. But that sounded really good. I'm just going to date only black women. I'm only going to date Jewish women. I'm only going to date Italian women. I don't care. And it was funny because, we're supposed to be in the 21st century where people are colorblind, but yet they're not. And the reason I point that out, because I remember growing up in the 80s. That was my favorite time. I guess if I grew up now and I was a teenager, I would say, well, this is my favorite time. But you know what? No, I don't know about that. Because I remember back in the 80s, there was never pointed out, oh, this person's black or this person's Hispanic. No, because everybody looked the same. I mean, you watch a movie like Back to the Future, or watch the Michael Jackson video of Thriller. Well, did you ever think, oh, that's a black man singing? Or, I'm trying to think somebody else who might have been some other race or ethnic background. No, you didn't think about it. It was like, oh, this person's really cool. Or if it was a female vocalist, you didn't try to figure out, okay, what's her ethnicity? You didn't care, because there were certain ones that could have been black or Hispanic, and they, if you liked their music and you saw what they looked like, it was like, hey, that person, like, if it's a woman, for me, hey, that woman's really good looking. I didn't think, oh, well, she's not the same race as me, or I don't want to, I don't like her because she's not of a different race. No, I didn't think that way. And I don't think anybody else did. And it was fun back then. I remember growing up in the 80s. I mean, the big thing back then was, in the 80s, was the Nintendo NES. I met some people that were in their early 20s. We had a good time. We goofed off. I did some goofy stuff myself, just to impress girls. But it didn't go to the point that I was physically harming anybody, and nobody was harming anybody else as much as they do nowadays. You never even thought of like trying to kill or stab somebody. But nowadays, it's like, everything's about gangsters. And most of the music you listen to growing up, especially in the 80s, you never thought twice. I mean, the biggest thing back in the 80s that came out of the 80s was Michael Jackson. Everybody, like, loved the man. Of course, things came out that made him look bad, but when he was alive, it was like great. Nobody, there was no such thing. Oh, this is a black man entertainer. Who cared? Now all of a sudden, it's a big deal. And the rap that used to play back then even was really fun to listen to. I mean, everybody listened to it. The music was great. But now everything is so, people stereotype themselves. It's not that I'm trying to stereotype them, but they do it themselves. And when they do that, then it's like, okay, this is too much. Anyway, I'm just babbling on at this point, and I'm videotaping it, so I got to edit that later on. So I'll try to put it up on YouTube, and you can see my ugly mug and get an idea of my setup. So I'm going to look off for a minute, signing off. Hopefully this looks okay. Okay, have a good night, folks.